Hi guys, today we're going to be testing out a new palette from Sugar Drizzle and I'm so excited because this is an all shimmer palette, and if you're not new around here, you know that I love all shimmer palettes. I think they are so fun. It's a way for me to be able to pair shimmers with mattes that aren't kind of already decided for me, which I feel like sometimes they are in other palettes, and I like the kind of creativity that it brings out in me, and I feel like I come up with looks that I normally wouldn't have if I have a color story that's already kind of curated for me. So this is going to be the Don't Forget to Smile palette, and I love the theming of all of Sugar Drizzle's palettes. I think they're so just playful and fun and like not so serious, you know? And I think that makeup shouldn't be serious, it should be fun, and I really appreciate them as a brand because of that. So this is the palette in question, and this palette is going to be launching tomorrow when you're seeing this. I want to say it's at 12 EST. I will have all the information down below in my description box, as well as my affiliated code, which is just Annette, and it will save you 10% off if you're interested in this palette. I think they are also restocking some of their other palettes. I forget which ones, but if there are any that you've been interested in the past, maybe just take a look on their website when this palette goes live to see what else they have in stock, because they are going to be restocking some of their other palettes. So I'm super excited to be playing with this. I mean, I already know I'm going to love it. I've done one look already and I had such a good time with this, and I just know that this is going to be one of those palettes that I'm going to be wanting to reach for a lot, because these are the kind of shimmers that I love. There are a couple of different shimmer formulas in here. There are some that are a little bit more on the flaky side, some that are a little more on the sheer side, some that are more just metallic, some that almost lean a little satiny but are more than a satin. So I like the color story in this. I think there's a lot of beautiful tones, and I'm just excited to create another look. Another thing that I'm super excited about is that I made an order from Singe Beauty, which is Angelica's brand. She has come out with brushes, and these look so good. Like, I opened the package and I wasn't sure exactly what to expect, because when you see other people show off things, like kind of gauging the size of it can be a little hard because you don't really have anything to compare it to, and she didn't compare these brushes to other brushes that I would recognize like in her reveal video. But I have to say, the sizes of these are beautiful. The quality seems amazing. They're super soft, and I'm just really excited to be testing these out. The first brush here, which is the small or the large blending brush, is going to be too big for me. It's like literally the size of my eyes. So this one is going to be more of just like a blending out the very outer edges shade if I need something to kind of just buff with, or yeah, I don't know. But these four, I'm excited. So I'm gonna probably use a palette that I wouldn't say I'm still reviewing it because I've already done my video with it, but I want to try some more of the mattes in the Art2 Cosmetics Maneater Untamed palette. And some of you said that you wanted to see me use the neutrals in this, so I think that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Maybe not like neutral, but at least some of the more toned down shades I didn't use in my review, because I still have yet to sort of properly make up my mind on the mattes in that palette, because I felt like some of them were not like the most buildable, but since these are going to be easier shades for brands to formulate, I'm expecting them to be buildable and totally fine. So I'm gonna take the second largest of the blending brushes here, which seems to be this one, which is the EO2. And I think I'm gonna use these two colors in my crease and then do possibly like some green shimmers on my lid. I think that could be fun. So we're gonna start with the shade right here and go from light to dark. This is a shade called Hunter. I'm not gonna spend too much time on the mattes in this because this is more about the Sugar Drizzle palette, but I do want to focus on the brushes and see how the brushes perform, because that is, I feel like, more relevant anyway to a lot of you guys out there. I will say the brush is really, really nice and soft, and it picks up color very nicely as well. So far, I really like it. It feels nice on the eyes. It applies color beautifully. It's not so flimsy that is too flimsy. It's got a little bit of firmness to it, which is nice for like putting down color. And then when you start blending, it's flimsy is the wrong word, but the bristles are loose enough that you can sort of pack and blend at the same time, and I like that. So I think that's going on very nicely. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the matte formula in this palette. They are a little bit on the sheer side. Not like super sheer, but they're definitely not my favorite matte formula that I have in my collection. Just gonna leave my lower lash line for now because I think I might do some green under there. I'm gonna switch to the smallest of the blending brushes, which is the E05, and I'm gonna take the shade called Beast, which is the dark brown in the palette, and I'm just gonna use that to deepen up this look with and see where we end up. I really like how the tip of this brush is sort of rounded. It makes it so that I can get into the front portion of my kind of eye here that's has like a little bit of looser skin than it does on the outer part, and I find that I'm able to precisely put down that deepening shade without it sort of going everywhere. So I really like the blending brushes in this set so far, and I kind of knew that I would just from honestly seeing them and feeling them and seeing the size of them. And I'm super happy that I picked him up, and I had no doubt in my mind that Angelica would create something that is good quality and is something that is kind of lacking on the market. I don't feel like there is enough options for smaller brushes, especially for, you know, hooded eyes and detail work and stuff like that. And it's nice to just have more options now. And these are also synthetic if you're looking for you know, brushes that aren't Rephr brushes or What's Up Beauty brushes or something like that, because those brands seem to be the ones that have these kind of brush shapes. So it's nice to have a brand that makes synthetic brushes as well. Make brushes that are meant for doing more detail work, and I think that this shade is nice. It's, again, it's not my favorite matte formula. I just find it to be a little bit sheer in a way, but also like it's not sheer. Like it's building up, but it's just I'm not having as good of a time working with this as I am with like my Blend Bunny mattes. But I mean, listen, no one's surprised by that. I'm just gonna go back in with the transition shade that I used, just run that over the edge with the first brush that I used, just to get a good blend between the two. And I'm gonna switch to the EO1 brush, which is a flat brush, but it's a little bit thicker than the EO4. This is more of a packing brush, I feel like, for shimmers, and this one is more for kind of mattes and shimmers. And I'm gonna take the shade called Nocturnal, and I'm pretty sure I used this one in one of the looks where I've reviewed this palette, but I'm just gonna smoke this underneath my eye because I feel like pulling in a little bit of green when I plan on doing greens on my lid. It's gonna make it come together a little bit more. Also, really nice brush. I like this for the lower lash line. I could see honestly using this brush for a lot of different things. So now for the fun part, I am going to put on some glitter primer because I just prefer that with this kind of formula. I'm going to use the EO4. I'm just going to use that with my glitter primer before I put on my shadow, and that way the brush is going to be nice and sticky, which really helps me pick up the shadow. And I also just find that it applies better on my eyes too when I use a sticky brush. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to use... Am I going to use 3 of these? Probably going to use 3 of these. I'm tempted to do like 1, 2, 3, and maybe some of, I don't even know, something else underneath my, maybe this one underneath my eye, just to try out all of the greens. So I'm going to pick up this shade to start off, which is more of a, it's not really a satin, but it's also not a super metallic shade. And I'm just going to kind of put that on the outer portion of my lid, just kind of over that dark matte that I put down. I do want this to be a very shimmer heavy look, and the nice thing about a formula like this, if you're going to use it like over mattes as a deepening shade, is that it's going to blend very nicely into the crease. So I didn't even have to really deepen up the outer corner of my eye with a matte. I could have just used this one, but I just wanted to sort of test out the mattes because I'm still, like I said, making up my mind on the formula because it is a new to me brand. But so far, really liking this shade. I think that's really pretty. If you wanted to do like a smoky eye, this would look beautiful with this all over the lid and really whatever in the crease. But I want something a little bit more metallic and out there, so I'm gonna go in with this shade, which is the shade called Green Smile. That is a very fitting name, I feel like, for this shade. That looks so pretty. And I'm gonna put that pretty much on the rest of my lid. I'm gonna leave a little bit of room in the inner portion because I do want to use the iridescent green shade, which I already know I'm going to love because those are like my favorite kind of shades ever. This is turning out to be more of a kind of grungy look than what I was expecting. And I'll also show you the other look that I've done, obviously, at the end of the video. I don't know if I forgot to say that in the beginning, but I did more of a like a summery blue look, and I played with all of the blues, and it turned out really nice. I also played with some of the pink shades, and I really like that look. So I just wanted these two looks to be very, very different. This brush is really nice as well. I'm really enjoying the way it's picking up and laying down and blending out colors. I'm just sort of wiping off my brush in between colors here. I have a towel in front of me, which is getting way too dirty, and I should probably switch it out soon, but I have not because I'm lazy. I'm gonna take this shade, which is gonna be so pretty. This is a shade called Moonlight Smile, and I'm just gonna do that on basically the front portion of my lid, and also layering it over that green shade to brighten it up a little bit. So it definitely has more of a like a yellow shift to it, but I think this is just gonna work out so well. Yeah, that is beautiful. Gonna switch to a small pencil brush, which they don't have in the set, so I'm gonna just pick up this shade here, which is a shade called Smile High Club. That's a really funny name. It's like the first time I actually looked at the names of the shadows when I did my first look. It didn't really matter because I wasn't like saying them out loud, I was just pointing at them. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on the front portion. I haven't sprayed this, I don't have any glitter primer down, this is just dry. I just wanna have the tiniest amount of like a green little sparkle underneath my eye, also just see if this color is different than the other ones, and I feel like it is, but it is also kind of similar to the color that I have on my lid as well. But I think this is where I'm going to leave it with this look. I'm just going to go ahead and finish off real quick. Okay, I did not feel like doing lashes today, so this is just where we're at. I just put on a bunch of mascara, and I did some yellow in my waterline with the Norvina yellow pencil. So let me go ahead and quickly show you the first look that I did with this palette. I didn't focus too much on the mattes in that look either because I mean, that's not what this video is about, but I did use the Lure palette from Lemony. I just did a bit of a pinky, pastel-y, bluey, you know, matte work kind of look, and then I put some shimmers on my lid, and I think they looked so beautiful. Like the blue shimmers in this palette are everything, and I'm also maybe a little biased because blue is like my favorite color when it comes to eyeshadows, so I knew I was going to like it. The pink shimmers are beautiful as well, and they honestly wore better than I even expected. I wore that look for, I want to say, 16 hours or something like that, and there were barely any creasing at all. Like, I didn't have to really tap over it in the slightest. The only thing I did was after about 10 hours, we were going out for dinner, and I just put a little bit of extra shadow over the top just to make sure it wouldn't crease throughout the night, and it didn't. So yeah, super impressed with this palette. I should also probably mention that Sugar Drizzle did send me their new liquid liner as well, which I did use in the first look, and I don't like this. First off, this is a felt tip liner, which I do not like felt tip liners. I find them to just be too tuggy and too dry, and they just don't work for me very nicely. So I had kind of a hard time using it, and I was able to get it onto one eye first, but then once I started on the other eye, it was almost dried out. So not the biggest fan of this liner. I probably wouldn't recommend it if you're looking to pick anything up. My favorite eyeliner that I keep recommending all the time is the DHC liquid liner. I get this on Amazon. This one lasts me at least 6 months of using it pretty much every day, and it never dries out. Super slidey, just glides on perfectly. It doesn't smear, it doesn't bleed, it doesn't do anything it's not supposed to do. This is a brush tip applicator, which is so much better. It's so much easier to get like a really nice, sharp, precise line. I will link this down below if you want to go check it out, because this is definitely one that I would recommend when it comes to liners. But yeah, I think this palette is beautiful. I'm so happy I have it in my collection. I know I'm gonna get a ton of use out of it. Thank you, Sugar Drizzle, for sending it over. It's beautiful. I would have bought it myself if you didn't. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today. If you want to see some more Sugar Drizzle content, I of course have a long playlist. I'll put that right there. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.